So I'm looking at the numbers recently regarding COMEX silver and gold deliveries due for the month of December. Because as you know, when you play the paper game, and there are people out there who not necessarily play the paper game to play it, but they legitimately need gold or silver, so they go out and purchase it on the COMEX. And there are certain months that usually do quite well. Like every year, it's pretty much the same. December is usually one of those months, but nothing looked too crazy with silver from what I remember. But gold, on the other hand, last time I checked, which was just a few days ago, there was around 200,000 ounces of gold due for delivery, standing for delivery, that had not been cleared yet or settled yet. Which means the order was placed, you know, let's say back in December. I need my gold, here's the rest of the money, whatever, here's the payout of the contract. Go ahead and get me my gold as soon as possible. And I think what they did on the COMEX is kind of what they did in Germany. We'll see you in 2020. Wait a minute. We're in 2014 right now. Yeah, we'll see you in 2020. Not quite, but they're still waiting for their gold to be delivered. That's the bottom line here. It should have taken, I mean, think about this. If you place an order, this is one of those types of items that's like a warehouse, right? I know it's gold and silver, and there's probably vaults and things of that nature, but it's similar to a warehouse. You place an order for some product, you know, 25 solar panels, in which they've said to you already, absolutely, it's in stock. You've got a contract, don't you? Yeah. Then it's in stock. You've already paid for it. You just got to give us the rest of the money for the contract to buy us out, so to speak, of the contract, or demand delivery, which means you got to pay the full amount, not just a tenth of it to play the game. So here you go. What, a couple days, day or two? Maybe in a normal world. How about a few weeks? Pardon? From why? You don't have it? I mean, you said you had it. You already issued the contract, and since you issued the contract, means you've got it. So where is it? Why can't I have it right now? Because that's how they set the price of gold and silver every day, by pushing paper, issuing paper contracts that claim it really exists. Trust us, and you can play with this contract. But God forbid if you ask for delivery. Here's the rest of the money, deliver the goods. I don't want to play the paper game, give me the real gold now. Oh, well, there's a little slight delay. So there's, last I checked, there's 200,000 ounces of gold standing for delivery from December. Still hasn't been settled yet. Incredible. On top of that, the COMEX numbers come out of inventory, and allegedly there is only a little over 300,000 ounces available to even be used for delivery. Delivery of any other gold settlements that need to take place. So the question is that going to be minus 200,000 here? So they're going to have like 100,000 ounces of gold in the entire COMEX left to be, you know, to use for settling, you know, as they call it, settling these contracts. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. This is not the first time we've gotten dangerously low. However, from what I just recall here, this could be the lowest that the COMEX inventory has ever been in gold, ever. And we already hit the record. What, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. You know, in other words, 2012 or 2013, where I think it was 2012, where they once again hit a, you know, world-shattering, record-breaking low inventory in the COMEX, and now that's been shattered to a new one. So, I mean, you can sit here and look at the price of gold and silver all day long and say, you know, I turn on the mainstream media and they're basically telling everybody, I told you so, you should have stayed away from the gold and the silver. And the other day I talked to you about the Yahoo News, main article on Yahoo News about the big old we told you so gold. You know, look at 2013, it was dismal, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, reality says something else. Reality says they're scrambling to get their hands on gold and put these fires out, so to speak. And by the way, I read this even, let's see, I want to say it was last week. Didn't really comment on it yet. But as you know, speaking of the old German gold repatriation, they want their gold back. That's been stored in London and the Federal Reserve vaults, or maybe that's the only thing in the so-called, what do you call it, in Kentucky, Fort Knox. You know, our gold's gone. We're using it as a storage for other people's gold. Are you down with OPG? Yeah, you know me. Who's down with OPG? Other people's gold. Yes. You down with OPG? Yeah, you know me. Who's down with OPG? Every last Federal Reserve homie. So, back on track. We were supposed to give Germany, as they wanted all their gold. We said no. It'll take us not it'll take us till 2020. We don't want to use those words. We just said we'll give it to you all in 2020. But every year, so the next 7 years, we're going to, because it was 7 years when they said it last year. Next 7 years, we'll give you X amount of gold every year, and then by 2020 you'll have it back in full. Okay, well I guess that's better than nothing. So that kind of just went under the radar and was left alone. Some German people said, no, we don't like that. Nothing too major though. So the first payment, so to speak, was due from us to them, or by us to them, for their gold. Their first gold payment that we agreed to do, X amount per year. Here you go. First payment. I read this last week, but I'm pretty sure what I read said that they were somewhere near 50 tons short. So we couldn't even hold up to our agreement as the greatest country, biggest economy. Oh, wait a minute. Did I just say biggest economy? No, I lied, because the other video I did the other day just said China surpassed us. Stats are out for 2013. China has surpassed the United States, world's largest economy. United States put a fork in it. That's basically what the article said. Of course, we've been forecasting this for a while now. You can clearly see where the trend is moving. But, you know, again, back on track, we still couldn't produce the amount of gold we needed to produce to make good with our pal, Germany. And it's going to take us 7 years and X amount of gold per year. And we can't even do that, and we're 50 tons short on the very first freaking payment of gold payback. And we've got 200,000 ounces of gold standing for delivery on the COMEX. Still hasn't been delivered. Settled, whatever. All I'm going to say is you can do the math. You can go look at old J4's old videos talking about these things that would be coming in the future. These would be telltale signs. Now, of course, I never said anything about countries wanting their gold back and us basically defaulting on them, saying, nah, we got it. You can't come and look at it, and you just got to trust us. We'll give it to you in a few years. I never said that, because that was like beyond absurd that I wouldn't even dare say such a thing. I'd have lost all my subscribers had I said something like that. Like, the United States is not going to give back the people's gold of other countries. Like our pals especially. You know, our allies. Yeah, come on. Get the hell out of here. I'd have fired myself. J4, what? Step in my office. Why? Because you're freaking fired, that's why. And yet it happened. And yet, that is exactly what happened. And not only did it happen, from what I read last week, we couldn't even come up with the full amount on time of gold that we owed. That's supposedly sitting in a vault that's been there forever, collecting dust, cobwebs, spiderwebs, dust mites. That's because it was never there in full. We've been using it the entire time to set the price of gold and silver. Anyone that wants it, we use that gold to put the fires out on the paper markets who demanded delivery. We would let the mining and whatnot come back on, not come back online, but take some from the world production to replenish what we've just given out. which was Germany's gold and so-and-so's gold and so-and-so's gold. And everyone thought, oh, Hugo Chavez, remember that? Venezuelan president at the time. Well, this guy demanded all of his gold back immediately, and it still took him months. Remember that? It took him months to get his gold. But when he got his gold, they had a little convoy in the street, and they were showing everyone the gold, and he had a little big old gold bar in his hand, talking about the importance of a country to have its gold within its own borders. Then we had India. Someone filed a lawsuit in India against its central bank. Keep in mind, when I use the word central bank, it doesn't matter which country I'm talking about. They're all the same. They're all the same club. So someone filed it started with the Freedom of Information Act, I believe, against the central bank in India from an Indian citizen. And basically asking, where's our gold? Is it in our own border, or is it in another country? They didn't want to answer it, so they had to file a Freedom of Information Act over there, and it worked. Okay, the response is that like 10% is within our border, and 90% is elsewhere, like in the US and London. So that prompted them to file, I think, a lawsuit to say, basically, get our gold back into our country. So that put some heat on the boys, the central banker boys. And when you get heat on these people, each country starts doing it. The next one that came, remember that, was Mexico. And it was the same story. It was like 10%. We got 10% of the gold in our country. The other 90% is elsewhere. And then we go to the next country, and it's the same story. Some of them didn't have any gold in their own country. It was all in the United States Fed or London. Both of those are the two main storehouses of other people's gold, OPG. And you got Ben Bernanke down there counting it up. So is it any coincidence right now that the boys, the club, Ben Bernanke, all these guys, Timothy Geithner, they've already stepped down. They're gone. They're done. And now they've got this sweet little innocent lady, Janet Yellen. She's going to lead the Fed. And they're going to drop a bombshell on her. And she's going to be the one in charge when it happens. And most people, history shows, don't really care who the prior person was that was in charge. Who's in charge? I want to speak to the manager now. Who's on duty now? My chicken McNuggets are freezing cold. Even though the manager on duty just 10 minutes before was the one that was responsible for those nuggets. Nope. The new manager on duty, Mrs. Janet Yellen of McDonald's. How can I help you, sir? My chicken nuggets are cold. My golden nuggets are cold and missing. That's all they care about. No one's going to look back and say, oh, well, Timothy Geithner was head of the Treasury at the time, and Ben Bernanke was head of the Fed at the time. These people were put in place to take the fall. The boys came in, ran it when they wanted to run it. Now that they've done the damage, and the damage has to be shown for what it is, coming to a theater or country near you soon, they got to have new people in power. We're done. I gave 2 terms as Ben Bernanke, the federal chairman, the guy, reserve chairman. I'm done. I'm going to let someone else take over now. Everything's fine. We did the QE. It worked like we said. Meanwhile, they're running frantically back and forth in the basements trying to scrape up dust, gold particles to create anything. I can't wait to see how they deal with this. Because China is the one absorbing almost all of the gold. It is leaving the Western gold vaults at record speeds. While simultaneously, there are people still demanding delivery on the COMEX. China's not going on the COMEX and demanding delivery. They're just outright buying it from every source in the world. You know, pretty much. Go to the biggest Swiss refineries, give it to us. Give it all. So everyone else who plays the normal game, normal delivery, normal nonsense, are going to the COMEX. So that little tiny percentage of people is still enough to cause major problems on the COMEX. When in fact they say 1 to 2% of all participants on the COMEX actually ever demand delivery of gold or silver. So if 1 to 2% is true, and that's all that's demanding delivery right now, and it's causing them to be a month behind in deliveries, etc., I think you can understand the magnitude of how many pieces of paper are actually out there versus how much real gold and silver that's supposed to represent those paper are not and never were there. Which means whatever the price is right now, theoretically, is so low, it should be multiples upon multiples upon multiples of the current price, based on simple supply and demand statistics. So, all I know is, I hope, and I'm not a hopium smoker, but for your sake, I will smoke a bit of hopium right now. So I'm gonna hope that you still got your gold and or silver, especially silver, because silver is the one they suppress the most. Therefore, it will rebound the most. I hope you didn't get a dumb hair up your butt that said, man, I'm waiting 2 years, price hasn't really moved, I gotta get out, I gotta get out. I'll say it now. Shame on you. Screw me once, shame on you. Screw me twice, shame on me. This is gonna be shame on you both times. You should have never sold it in the first place, and you shouldn't be thinking about selling it right now. And if you do sell it right now, you're out of your mind. I can see what's happening. I don't care what the price says. I don't care what the news say. Those are the things you need to do the opposite of. Because everything in our world's a lie. Everything is the opposite. So if that's the case, I'm doing the opposite. And I'm buying gold and silver. In this case, silver. I am a silver guy. Take care.